Welcome to Entrepreneur Exchange on the Mesh Podcast Network, a monthly conversation about startups and small business with ideas, tools, and advice to operate your business more effectively. On today's show, we'll talk about a quick article. When it comes to new product ideas, is it better to add new features or to focus on keeping it simple? We'll talk about a recent article that we've been looking at. Our guest today is an entrepreneur, motivational speaker, and American Ninja Warrior. Hoan will be joining us from Seattle, Washington to talk about his entrepreneurial experience and how he connects with and motivates students across the country. And as always, we'll wind up with our Small Business of the Month feature, where we'll highlight some interesting businesses that you should be checking out. My name is Jeff Newville. I'm your co-host and director of the Small Business Center at Catawba Valley Community College in Hickory, North Carolina. I'm joined by my co-host, Gary Muller, who is Dean of the School of Workforce, Productivity, and the Arts at Catawba Valley Community College. Gary, how is it going today?
Jeff, it's great. This is really exciting. Of course, people can't see us, but I'm only 6 feet from you right now. And getting to see Moose in the booth. This is like it's supposed to be, and hopefully it'll be sometime soon on a regular basis.
Well, which means we're back in the studio, and we're happy to be back in the Mesh studios. And they take good care of us here. They bring my water with lemon and the bowl of cherries that are required when we come in here. They always take really good care of us, so we appreciate being back at the Mesh.
It feels good.
And
of course, I've got my 32-ounce Coke,
and I'm glad that you do. That keeps you going.
Exactly.
So, Gary, I wanted to share an article that I found last weekend in the Washington Post. Okay. It was by several professors from the University of Virginia, Benjamin Converse, Gabriel Adams, Andrew Hales, and Leedy Klotz. And it was in the Washington Post last weekend. And they talked about their research on something called subtractive insight. And they talked about their research. Their research shows that most people's first instincts when they're asked to change something is to add something, to add features, to add benefits. But they say sometimes the old keep it simple, stupid, the KISS approach, is a better way to approach product development and trying to keep us away from avoiding the trap of just adding extra bells, whistles, and things. It's not always the way to go. And they had an example of how kids learn how to ride a bike. We traditionally had put training wheels on a bike in theory for more stability. But they brought up the example of in 2007, a fellow named Ryan McFarland had the insight that kids would learn better not on contraptions that were bikes with added parts, but ones with fewer parts. So after experimenting, he developed a low-cost two-wheel bike without pedals and chains, and now many children use it to zip around on, sort of like Fred Flintstone, on one of his Strider bikes. You sort of see them and it's sort of low to the ground, and they're pushing their feet. So
I know Fred Flintstone.
You know Fred. Well, you're old. You
yes,
probably
exactly. Although I was seeing some.
You used to work with him.
Yes,
I think.
That's right. So, exactly. He taught me everything I know about manufacturing.
So I just curious. You and I talk to people about business and business ideas, and I think I fall into the trap of saying, what sort of feature or thing are you going to add to make it different? And maybe we should be thinking about subtractive insight. I was just curious to what you think about that.
I think that's an interesting thought. And I was going to say the same thing you said. When somebody says, hey, how are we going to make this better? I think about adding things. That is because that sounds like the right thing. But these days and times, looking at maybe you do add things, but you subtract some other things. You add something that's a really good feature that you can take away some of the other ones. I could probably do that. Add one, lose two.
It's sort of like when you and I go to Wendy's for that double cheeseburger, and then they put on the bacon and the lettuce and tomatoes and barbecue, and so, maybe we should have a simpler cheeseburger. Nah? Okay. All right.
No, but I'd be better for it. That's a good example.
So anyway, that's just something to think about out there as you're working on product development, working on your business ideas. Sometimes complexity isn't always the right way to go.
Sometimes, well, and it ties into anything. So we get a paradigm or, this is what we've always done, the way we do it. So that's what we do. And we got to get outside those parameters that we've put ourselves in it. We say, well, we're going to do it this way every time we do it. So I like it.
All right. Well, I'm going to, when we meet back on the college campus, I'm going to give you some good ideas for streamlining my job. So anyway.
You've been doing that for a long time.
It doesn't seem to be working yet. Anyway.
Well, that's because I'm in the additive part.
Okay. Well, see, I'm working you here. Let's welcome our guest, Hoan Do, who is joining our podcast from Seattle, Washington. Hoan, how are you doing out there?
Hey, I'm doing outstanding.
Welcome.
Well, we appreciate you being here. Hoan is an entrepreneur, has been a professional speaker for over 10 years. He is the recipient of the Verizon Wireless Motivator Award. He's the acclaimed author of Succeeding in the Real World. He is also a City finalist in NBC's hit television show, American Ninja Warrior. You might see Hoan in the grocery store these days as he's featured on Lay's chip bags as part of their Smile with Lay's campaign. He's been recognized as the best youth mentor by the International Examiner and one of the 25 most influential people in Seattle by the Seattle Magazine. Hoan, I must ask you first, is Russell Wilson on that list, or do you know?
For this year, he was not on that list, but I consider him all-time 25 most influential people here.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we're glad that you're with us. Welcome to the Entrepreneur Exchange, and tell us a little bit about the Hoan Do Company and what you do.
Yeah, I mean, you did a great job introducing me. For the last decade, my team and I have been lucky enough to partner with over 400 companies, organizations, and schools across the world to empower their professionals and their students to overcome adversity by developing resilience and mental strength. And the practical strategies we've shared through our keynote messages, through our workshop training, coaching, and online curriculum has positively impacted over 250,000 people within the time we've been doing this.
Well, that's pretty impressive.
Exactly.
So, tell us a little bit about your backstory. You've gone from working with Tony Robbins to DECA, to starting your own company to motivate students. When did you know you were an entrepreneur? And just sort of tell us a little bit about your career path.
Yeah, so I knew when I was an entrepreneur, when I was no longer with the Tony Robbins company, I had no more income and I had to create something out of nothing. That's when I officially knew that I was an entrepreneur. But what really impacted my path was in high school, I attended a summer camp called Washington Business Week. And it was a really unique thing. I was on DECA throughout the school year, which is pretty much an organization to teach entrepreneurship on marketing. But it was an opportunity for a week where students all across the state had a chance to go to a college campus, to live on campus, but you learned real life business skills through an engaging program. So they used the software where you kind of replicate yourself working for a company, and that each group would have a company CEO, CFO, and different members, but they'd have a software where you would create a product. So literally, they called it a hunk of junk. So literally, they brought out all this stuff as if it was a garage sale. Students would have the job of creating a product out of all this junk. So they would grab things from this hunk of junk, and then each day you'd have fake money, and you would put X amount of monies into the software, like on research and development, on different categories of the business. And every day they would have a community member that would volunteer to invest their time in us and to teach us about business skills. We'd hear keynote speakers, we would connect with other students. And by the end of the week, we would actually do a shareholders meeting where we would present to a board of volunteer members our product. And we had a trade show where community volunteers, they would have monopoly money, and they would go around different booths to see what students' products were, what they were solving. And they would give this fake money to invest in the company. So this was a very unique experience that taught me about entrepreneurship in a very fun way. So that's what really kickstarted my interest in entrepreneurship. But it was when I left the Tony Robbins company and I was not getting a paycheck, that's when I knew that, hey, I am now an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I suspect that some people are entrepreneurs just because they can't help themselves, and some sounds like some for you was that a little bit out of necessity.
100%. Yeah. And, I think that it's entrepreneurship is such a beautiful thing. And, when the rubber meets the road, you're kind of like either you step up or you step aside. And for me, fortunately, everything worked out because I think one of the really key principles of entrepreneurship is having your deep purpose or your why. Simon Sinek has that famous TED talk, start with why. And for me, doing what I do, I knew when I was in high school that the idea of being a speaker was my path or my calling. And that's the reason why when we face obstacles, challenges, we've never stopped or folded because we have a deep reason why we do what we do.
Well, a big part of your work is with students and with educators. What's your take on their interest level in entrepreneurship, and what challenges do you see out there? Should we be feeling comfortable that the seeds of entrepreneurship are planted with our students today, or are we doomed? Tell us what you see out there.
I think the interest is extremely high, and I think the reason why is when you go through different generations. I'm a millennial, and then you have Generation Z going to college. Is that students are seeing that there's a different way. Similar to me, my parents, they immigrated from Vietnam after the Vietnam War, and they just focused on creating a new life for my brother and I. And, during that time, it was like you work for one company pretty much your entire life. And when it got to my turn and I started seeing like, oh, there's a different way where I have a chance to get a college education where my parents didn't. But then I was exposed to different mentors and people that showed, hey, you don't just have one option, you have multiple options. But when you talk about Generation Z now, and you talk about social media, where people see online the different things that are possible, that's where the interest is high. And when you talk about Shark Tank, where that show was founded out of the previous recession, that exposure lets students and even professionals know now is that, hey, you have options that are different from beforehand. So I think the challenge is very high. But with that being said, I think the biggest challenge specifically I see with what people are seeing when they want to go in entrepreneurship today is their expectations are really off from what reality is. And what I mean specifically is when people look on social media or they watch Shark Tank, they get so excited. Oh my gosh, I have such amazing, I want to start this business. But what people don't realize is being an entrepreneur, it requires a different muscle. Similar to when you go to the gym, if you just run on the treadmill all day and you start lifting weights, it might be difficult because you never practice that exercise. Well, same thing as being an entrepreneur is that if you have the reality that, oh my goodness, no, it's so awesome. I can work when I want. No one's going to tell me what to do. But then you haven't developed those entrepreneurship muscles. One specific muscle is that you got to create a disciplined schedule, right? When you go to work, you have everything. Like, I need to do this, and you have a structure. But being an entrepreneur, if you never practice creating structure for yourself, what happens is then when you have that free day when you're tired, you think, you know what? I can start work later. Or, I'll do that thing tomorrow. And there's a common joke within the realm of entrepreneurs is like, ask yourself, if you were your own employee, would you fire yourself?
Right.
And many times people say, yeah, I'd fire myself because, I'm not as disciplined as if I was working for an organization or company. So I think that's the biggest challenge is the unrealistic expectation when they see something really sexy or exciting is translating to actually following through and doing those things.
Yeah, being an entrepreneur doesn't mean you're going to work less. In most cases, it's going to be working more.
Well, you said it 100% correctly. You work more and you get paid less initially.
Exactly.
That's how it works.
Well, and I don't think that that challenge is restricted to students. I think that we see people starting businesses of all ages that maybe they saw Shark Tank last night and they're excited and they think we have the magical money bucket under our desk to say, oh, you're starting a business. Here's some money. Go enjoy. And it doesn't work that way. There can be a lot of bootstrapping of getting it going on your own. Limited funds often from. Our friends will tell us that the initial funders are also often the three F's: friends, family, and fools. So trying to find that initial funding can always be a challenge as well. So we hear you. So part of your interesting backstory is that you were on American Ninja Warrior, and how has that experience helped you as a motivational speaker? How's it helped your business? I mean, a good promotion. Hey, you're in good shape. You're a healthy, strong-looking dude. How's American Ninja Warrior help you?
Are you talking about
Yeah.
me?
No, I'm not talking about you, Gary.
Well, I'll tell you where I was speaking before I was on American Ninja Warrior, but what being on American Ninja Warrior provided me was more exposure and opportunity. Because in business, when you think about being an entrepreneur, you got to have your unique selling proposition. What makes you different and unique from everybody else? So for me, being on American Ninja Warrior allowed me to say, hey, I was a city finalist on American Ninja Warrior. In addition to that, I was able to have a video clip that I can use on all my marketing, a picture. So that opened up other markets for me. So for example, last year or a year and a half ago, we got an email from the Young Presidents Organization. This is an international organization with top CEOs from all over the world. And the reason why this opportunity happened was they said, hey, we're doing this theme, East meets West. And we thought it would be really cool to do a family event with our CEOs and their children to have an American Ninja Warrior come. So I've had many opportunities like that have opened up because I was on American Ninja Warrior. So being on American Ninja Warrior was a great overall personal experience, a personal goal that I had, but also from a business front, it's helped me from opening up more doors and opportunities because people know the American Ninja Warrior name.
So sort of brand development, marketing niche. Now, I've watched American Ninja Warrior a few times. Give us just a quick bit on your experience there. I mean, did you make it through the whole course? Did you get knocked off on something? What's the most challenging part of the American Ninja Warrior experience?
Yeah, so I think the most challenging part of the Ninja Warrior experience, it's similar to what I mentioned earlier about the challenges that students, professionals see with entrepreneurship. The expectation is not on a par of reality, so you have to make that mental shift. And what I mean specifically is when people watch American Ninja Warrior, they say, oh, that's so cool. People are cheering, having fun. But what people don't realize is that show is filmed late at night. So for example, when I competed, I was number, I think, 20 or 30 to go. But when I went, it was 2:00 in the morning, right? It was freezing cold. And I had gotten to the site at 6 p.m. So it was like this holding area. It's like all the sheep was just in one holding cattle, right? We're just in this area, just waiting. They're feeding us, but they had to wait till the sun went down. But what people did see is that when everyone goes on the course, if someone falls, then the crew would need to come out and wipe down all the equipment. So that could take 10 to 20 minutes to do that until the next person goes. So I think the most difficult part is just is adjusting to what you're expecting from the experience. Fortunately for me, I had a mentor and a coach. And I think that's one of the most critical things as an entrepreneur is to have a mentor and coach who've been through the challenges you've been through to save you that time and energy to prevent you from making the same mistakes. And my coach, who's on the show a couple of years previous to when I went, he says, hey, when you get there, don't waste all your energy jumping on the trampoline and practicing. You're going to be waiting for a while. So just hang out, put some earphones in, get some food. So that's exactly what I did. But with that being said, I think that was the most difficult part is just realizing kind of the changing the expectations and going into the show.
Well, one of my mentors, Tom Petty, used to say the waiting is the hardest part. So I guess that sort of was part of your experience there as well. So yeah, very interesting. You're currently on Lay's snack food bags. How did that happen?
That's cool.
Is that another way that you're developing your brand? Does someone look for that, or is someone that do you have to be a big eater of Lay's products? What's the criteria there?
Yeah, so the Lay's opportunity. This is something that happened right when the pandemic hit last year, and it was something where it is again continued brand development, exposure, credibility. So we're always looking for different opportunities to be involved in different things. But I had a friend, a fellow speaker who was on the Lay's chip bag a couple years back, and he had mentioned it. And then I had someone that had referred me into this opportunity. And it's at the time it was open nationwide, where they're just looking for smilers, people who were making a positive impact in the community. So I was lucky enough to be recommended. And the interesting part of the story was that I was recommended, and all of a sudden we get an email out of the blue, my assistant, and the person said, "Hey, we need to hear back you from today if you're interested." And we were really confused. So then we look into the email, and we noticed it was dated like in a way where it looked as if we missed some previous emails. So when we decided to check our spam, when we checked our spam, we had 3 or 4 emails from the Frito-Lay organization saying, "Hey, congratulations! You know, we're looking into you as a semifinalist, but we need your background check, etc. Please contact us within 48 hours." Then the next spam email, it was like, "Hey, we need to hear back from you if you're interested or not." And then the third spam email was like, "Hey, we called you, we emailed you, we didn't hear back from you. If you're interested, you gotta let us know." So fortunately, we caught that email. For whatever reason, that email actually went to my assistant's normal inbox, where the previous ones went to spam. And we responded back. They did the background check. They said, "Hey, you're a semifinalist." We were supposed to fly down, and we did because COVID had happened. So they put it on pause, where you were supposed to go there. They do a TV or interview, pictures, and to be selected as a finalist on the chip bag, you're supposed to share your story. And based on your story and your actual smile, they determine if you're a finalist to be in a bag. Well, because we didn't fly down, their new way we did it was we had to take selfies of ourselves. And we had to make tons of funny faces. And fortunately, the goofy face I made, which is kind of me smiling my tongue out, got selected. And I had the honor to be on the Lay's chip bags all across the country on 5 different flavors. And I think the coolest part was learning about the other amazing things that the other Smiles were doing, but also that proceeds from each bag at the time benefited Operation Smile.
That's great. That's great.
Can you show us that award-winning smile?
We're audio only, so he's got a great smile.
I know
you can hear it through my voice.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, we'll share your website. People can go look and see what you see.
That was the tease, to get people to go to his website,
or they can just go buy Lay's chips.
Well, there you go.
Try to pick out which one is Juan there. So and out of curiosity, Juan, is this a paid gig, or do they pay you in chips, or is this just like, are you now an influencer? What does this qualify you as?
I'm not sure. It just qualifies me as a dude that was on a bag of Lay's chips.
That works too.
That's great. I mean, I don't know how these things work. I'm just curious.
Mm-hmm. You got a great smile, Jeff.
Oh, I don't think I have a chip bag smile, but I certainly have my share of chips. So, Juan, you did a program for our community college, and things went very well, and that we had several hundred high school students from our area participate in one of your programs, and initially we had planned to do it in March 2020, and pandemic hit, and I got to think that just really had a very big impact on your business. How did you adjust to the pandemic and keep things intact for your business, and what sort of changes, adjustments did you have to make?
Yeah, so similar to many businesses out there, we are dramatically impacted, where all of our events at the time was all in person. So it was interesting because my wife and I were at a marriage group, and I was talking to this real estate agent, and I was like, "Oh man, your business might be impacted, right? Thinking about export, import, about housing." He said, "Yeah, we've been impacted. How about you?" I said, "Oh yeah, nothing. I'm about to fly to DC at the end of this week. It's all fine." And then the next day, that's when we get a phone call from a client. And that's when Austin schools closed, and that's when everything screeched to a halt. And I found myself going through the 5 stages of grief. I was in a big state of number 1, stage 1 was denial. I was like, this is not happening. It's gonna be okay. But once I got to acceptance, that's when things started to change in a positive way. I think one of the most difficult things for an entrepreneur to do is to embrace change, right? I think that's just human nature, where we don't like it unless it's forced upon us sometimes. And I think the really key principle is you got to lean into discomfort, not run away from it. because whatever you resist in life will continue to exist in your life. And so for me at the time, I used Zoom for internal meetings, but I never did a Zoom event. And I was really nervous of messing up, not being perfect. And that's where, there's an important saying where, focus on progress, not perfection. So I found a friend, he was just doing amazing work in the online space. He had pivoted, and by just connecting with him, it gave me the concept, I can do that. And so we decided just to really completely lean in 100%. We started buying equipment, and we started just willing to make mistakes, doing small events and working out the kinks and gaining that comfort and confidence. And once we did that, then that's when we started just really exploding and doing lots of event, creating just amazing promo and content and marketing, just to show that our online experience is completely unique and different from what people are doing today. So we completely pivoted, and 100% of our events since the pandemic has been virtual. We've been keeping really busy, hiring new team members to help facilitate different programmings and to increase our bandwidth. But COVID definitely impacted it. And I'd say for me in a great way, because it forced me to innovate. It forced me to do things completely differently. And it really tested myself as an entrepreneur to remind myself that, oftentimes we doubt ourselves or we get into this comfort. And I think it's really important as human beings to constantly grow. Tony Robbins has this great quote, progress equals happiness. And when you feel like you're moving forward in life, you're growing, you're going to be happy. It's when you feel like you're in this rut or routine or moving backwards, that's when you're not happy.
Yeah. Well, you made quite the adjustment, we can speak from our personal experience and with you and your programs that you made the leap to figuring out how to still engage with students in a virtual way, and so kudos to you. I imagine not everyone has figured that part of it out. So you guys did a great job when you work with folks in our area. So thank you for that.
Absolutely.
Any other pieces of advice that you want to share with our listeners who might be thinking about starting a business?
Yeah, I share two pieces of advice. Number one, if you're starting a business, is connect yourself with the right people. There's 3 people you need on your team. I call it my 3 M's. You need mentors, mates, and mentees. Mentors are people who believe in you when you stop believing in yourself. These are people, again, that have walked the walk and that can help you make the transition smoother. There's a quote I love, and I use it in regards to connecting with other husbands who are entrepreneurs as I think about the next days of my wife and I's lives about starting a family. There's a saying that says, smart people learn from their mistakes, but wise people learn from others' mistakes. So connect with mentors that have been down that path, who've succeeded, not on what they said, but who've gone through the experience, not theory, but who've practiced in real life. The second M was mates. Have peers, people who are going through it with you. I know that being an entrepreneur, it can be lonely. And especially if you're not connecting in person. And it's really powerful when you connect with people who understand what you're going through, because I have friends who work for organizations, and my wife, she's working as a registered nurse, but she's starting her influencing business. And what she's realizing is that when she talks to her friends who are not influencers, like they look at her with like a blank stare and they said, oh, that's cool. That's great. But they don't understand what she's actually going through. And that's why it's important as an aspiring entrepreneur or as an entrepreneur right now is to connect with other people who are going through the exact same thing so that you realize they're not alone. Last part of the 3 M's is mentees. Make sure you find people that you can pour into yourself, because oftentimes as an entrepreneur, it can be stressful. But what's magical is that when you help other people who've gone down your path or who are making the same mistakes or challenges you've been through, when you help that person, you feel better. And when you feel better, you can think clearer. And when you go back to that challenge that's in front of you, you'll have more creativity to approach that. So make sure you have those 3 M's, those relationships, mentors, mates, and mentees as a part of your team as you start a business. The second piece of advice I have is really focus on your why. Why are you doing this? What's your purpose behind wanting to start a business? Because if it's, because I don't want to work at my job anymore, then that's not a strong enough why. Because when the times get tough, you think, you know what? Being an entrepreneur is not fun at all. I thought it'd be exciting. I'm working harder and getting paid less. I'd rather have a comfortable job where I'm getting a consistent paycheck and I have to deal with these ups and downs of income. And when you're strong with your purpose and why you want to start this business, what happens is that you're going to be willing to do whatever it takes. So for me, when I started my business, when I left Tony Robbins, I was 22 and I was feeling on top of the world. Why? Because I was helping people who are 2 to 3 times my age, their business and also their personal life. And the thing is, I felt like I was adding value, but when I was no longer Tony Robbins, I no longer had that title. I was this unemployed 22-year-old that was sitting at home in his pajamas trying to write a book. And what had happened was, as I was writing my book, I finished, it took me a year and a half. I went through all of my savings and I went through credit card debt. I had this massive book launch. I felt like a huge success, but afterwards, guess what? Things did not go according to plan. Business did not pick up as quickly as I thought. I thought all the things I learned from Tony Robbins would be easily transferable, but there's some slight nuances that were different. So we weren't getting traction. And what happened, I started getting more and more into debt until one day I thought to myself, dude, enough's enough. I can't keep doing this. I need to find a way to make this work. So I ate a huge slice of humble pie and I started picking up random odd jobs to make ends meet. At the time, I worked as a census taker, knocking on doors, asking, hey, how many people are living in this household? And then checking it for the census. Afterwards, I then worked part-time for DECA. I then worked Comcast, going door to door, selling phone services, internet, Comcast cable. I also had a time where I worked as a telemarketer for the Pacific Northwest Ballet, soliciting ballet tickets and getting donations. I also had a period where I was waking up early at 5 o'clock in the morning to deliver phone books. Now, if there's anyone listening to this podcast that have no idea what a phone book is, it's this really thick book that looks like a dictionary with everyone's home phone numbers in them when everyone used to have home phone numbers. And I used to deliver these phone books early in the morning to these really wealthy neighborhoods with these massive hills I had to run up with 10 phone books on each arm. The only reason why I did all these things where I did not want to do, the reason why I had to humble myself was because I knew why I was doing this. I knew that I had a gift to share with this world, that this was not a job, this wasn't a career, this wasn't just a business, this was a life calling. And that's why I couldn't quit, because this is what I was supposed to do when I was placed on this earth. So as you begin your business, make sure you have those mentors, mates, and mentees, but also tap to, like, why do you really want to do this? Get deep. If you have this idea, you want to make a difference in this world, that you want to make this impact, or you have this idea that can really change and help a lot of people, and you dig deep into that, that's what's going to help you through when the times get tough, because people want to focus on what is sexy, which is what people see on social media, what they see on TV. But what the non-sexy is, it's when, Kevin from Shark Tank or Mark Cuban behind the scenes, where you learn their backstory and all the challenges they went through. When you look at Barbara, Lori Grenier, their backstory, that's when you realize, like, oh, wow, that's all the hardship they go through. So make sure you tap to that why, because there'll be many challenging moments, but when you tap to that why, that's what helps prevent you from giving up.
Awesome.
Well, that's pretty good advice. So,
Exactly.
well, Hoan, we really appreciate you getting up this morning and joining us. But before you go, if you're up for it, we're going to do our lightning round with you. So this month's lightning round is sponsored by Ned Ryerson Insurance, whole life, auto, flood, home. You can't have enough insurance. Am I right or am I right? Stay safe with Ned Ryerson Insurance. Check it out on the internet. So, Hoan, we're going to throw some quick questions to you. Quick questions, quick answers. Here we go. What is your biggest pet peeve?
My biggest pet peeve is indecisiveness.
You answered that very decisively. Very good.
That's right.
Vacation spot you'd most like to visit after the pandemic?
It doesn't matter what location, as long as I'm with family. That's all that matters.
Harry Potter, Star Wars, or Godfather movies?
I haven't watched any of them, so none of the above.
Well, give us a movie recommendation. Do you have anything?
Yes, movie recommendation. I would say, first thought in my head is a feel-good movie, Instant Family, with Mark Wahlberg.
Okay. Favorite Lay's snack food?
Favorite Lay's snack food is the baked Lay's chips, the originals.
Okay. Last question for you. If you could have one superpower, what would it be?
If I had one superpower, it would be mind reading.
Okay. That would be a good one. So, well, Juan, we really appreciate you joining the Entrepreneur Exchange today. It's been a pleasure. You've been a great guest. When we always finish up, Gary and I share a small business of the month. Any small businesses that you'd like to give a shout out to, or you want to pass today?
No, I don't have a small business I want to give a shout out to, but who I do want to give a shout out to is the Catawba Valley Community College Small Business Center. I know this is a show for entrepreneurs, but I think one of the greatest resources you can have when I talk about mentors is your guys' small business center with the amazing resources you have. So I'd like to give a spotlight. If you're starting a business, you're looking for support, one of the easiest mentors that you have access to right now is Catawba Valley Community College's Small Business Center.
Well, thank you very much.
You're just playing to your host,
right.
Juan. So, but it is appreciated. We appreciate that. So, and we'll expand that to say you should go check out the North Carolina Small Business Center Network, because there's small business centers throughout our state that are available to help folks in North Carolina. And I suspect there are business development centers in the state of Washington where Juan is, and throughout the country where folks can go for free assistance. So we appreciate that. Gary, what small business of the month are you going to talk about today?
It's the Catawba Valley Small Business Center.
No, you're going to have to do better than that. That one's taken.
No, that was, thank you, Juan. That is exactly right. And Jeff is one of our hidden charms at the college, and he does care about what he's doing and has done a great job for many people for many years. So we do appreciate that. But if we're not going to go to the Small Business Center, my small business of the month is Sweet Tea Bed and Breakfast, which is a hidden gem in our hometown, Jeff. It's owned by Ralph and Patricia Hatch. Ralph has over 30 years in the food service industry, and Patricia has many years in the restaurant marketing experience. Sweet Tea and Bed and Breakfast is a beautiful restored 100-year-old home known as the best home-cooked Southern-style breakfasts in Catawba County. Have you had any there?
Don't think I have.
No, we're going to be going there soon. They feature local items from Catawba Valley region, including their world-famous sweet rolls. And you know I love sweets, so that's how they fit into my small business of the month, of course. Each room is tastefully decorated to showcase the original 1920s style, but it's still very comfortable if you're looking at making sure that you're in the 2020 range as opposed to the 1920s. Home is partially furnished with upholstered items created by our very own Catawba Valley Furniture Academy.
Okay.
Is that not cool?
Very cool.
They have 3 beautiful rooms, and they're perfect for either romantic getaways or for business travel. They've been recommended to Tammy and me, my wife, by our hospitality partners. And Tammy and I have been talking to them about come visit them. And then, of course, Tammy's talking to them about being part of our hospitality academy.
Oh, very good.
Shout out, and we certainly hope they'll be part of our hospitality academy as we kick that off this summer.
Okay. Well, very good. So I found something, and I think you guys might both appreciate. Saw this article in the paper about how people are using drones to help them with training, and found something called the Traverse drone for runners. And Gary, I know you're probably very lonely when you're out doing your road work, so this product might be of interest to you. This actually, I don't think it's for sale yet; it's still in development. But it's a drone designed by the students of Hangik University, which is actually in Seoul, South Korea. The Traverse is a drone powered by artificial intelligence that's designed to be a personal trainer for recreational runners. It's an autonomous drone, has a quad propeller layout, and features a multiple fisheye camera that helps it navigate through spaces without requiring any external controls. A main gimbal-mounted camera focuses on you, the runner, as you run, monitoring your speed, performance, technique, laps, and charts your overall progress. While running, Traverse takes photos and videos of the runner, you, and provides you form correction and visual running feedback by tracking posture. It's accompanied by a pod, a wearable device that sits around your neck. So the drone sort of knows where you are and stays with you and doesn't run off and smash into things. It uses a wearable as a tracking tag. The pod itself works as your personal coach, giving you audio feedback to improve your form and performance. It's got a simple button interface to let you toggle between various functions without having to look at your smartphone. And after your workout's done, it provides detailed stats, which are sent to their app on the smartphone, so you can look at all the aspects of your run, from your route to biostats and even your posture. So athletes like the two of you might benefit
One of us.
from this sort of thing, and that when you're out doing your run, you can have a drone floating above your head, giving you feedback saying, Gary, run faster, better posture. I'm sure that
would make me feel really bad.
Anyway, so
But it would motivate me.
So if you go to yankodesign.com, you can learn more about their personal fitness trainer drone called the Traverse drone. So I just thought that was interesting.
That is
so
very
anyway,
cool.
Well, as if you've got a suggestion out there for our small business of the month, you can email them to us at exchange@themesh.tv. And if we use your pick, you'll get one of our Entrepreneurs Exchange prize packs. So we want to thank Hoan Do for joining us. Hoan, where can people find you if they want to learn more about Hoan Do and the stuff that you do?
Yeah, well, it's an honor being with you guys. If you're interested in learning more about the work that we do, you can go to hoando.com, which is spelled HOANDO.com. Again, it's hoando.com, spelled HOANDO.com.
Well, we should go check Juan's website out and see the programs that he's got going on and some of the videos that he's got out there. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Enjoyed it.
We really did, and wish you a good spring and good health, and probably life is a little bit easier doing video stuff. But if you ever make it to North Carolina, we want you to come and see us, and we'll look forward to that.
Absolutely.
Sounds like a plan.
That'd be great.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thanks, Gary. Another good show, and we'll
Thanks,
look forward
Jeff.
to doing it again next month.
Yeah, exciting. Take care.